Sean Strickland is a top 10 middleweight who, after some stuttering form at 170 pounds, found a new life as a 185-pounder and is now zoning in on a spot among the elite of the elite. On top of this, he's also managed to make a name for himself as one of the most vicious and relentless trash talkers in the game, earning a cult following on Twitter due to his unapologetic nature. But what do some of Strickland's fellow fighters actually think of him? Let's get into it. Number 10. Israel Adesanya. First up, we have the champion of the division that Strickland is a member of, the last stylebender himself, Israel Adesanya. Now usually, Izzy has been known to keep a straight face when assessing his potential opponents for the future. But when Strickland took the mic after defeating Uriah Hall in his last bout, his comments managed to draw an almighty laugh out of the champion, thanking his fans for their support. Strickland jokingly said that he would probably be in a trailer somewhere cooking meth if it weren't for the UFC, something that caused the stylebender to break down laughing. And it was certainly a genuine laugh, make no mistake. Though we're sure that these two would find every reason to get on each other's nerves if they ever did sign on the dotted line to fight. For now, this brief moment gave us a sense of how Israel feels about Strickland right now. Will it last? Who knows? But it was a pretty damn funny line, that's for sure.
You know, if it wasn't UFC, I'd probably be cooking meth in a trailer in prison, so...
Number 9. Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen has always had a soft spot for his fellow trash talkers, and as you would expect, Sean Strickland is no different. As the middleweight contender becomes a more frequent point of conversation on Sonnen's popular YouTube channel, Chael has started to put his own spin on Strickland's level of infamy, boldly stating that virtually no one at middleweight right now wants to fight him. And to be fair, Strickland made a very good account of himself on his last outing against Uriah Hall, proving himself to be an absolute nightmare in the cage who has a very well-rounded skill set. Chael, in classic Chael fashion, goes on to say that in one point in time, he had reached out to several fighters he knew, in hopes of doing the UFC a solid and helping to find Strickland an opponent back in the day. In his own words, he received no reply. Make of that what you will, but it's pretty safe to say that Chael Sonnen is a fan.
Your opponent is Sean Strickland. I am confident I can get you in. No, I assess these guys. This was with my buddy up the road. These are guys with meaningful records. These are guys that I know. These are guys whose career that I follow. I have not made that phone call. Sean Shelby has not heard from me. Nobody said yes. Even private, I would not have outed them. I would have got them an opportunity. Maybe I would have taken credit for it if I had. But I'm not outing them now. I'm not giving you name. Even in the dark of night with absolute secrecy, nobody wants to fight Sean Strickland.
Number 8. Anthony Smith. It's a tough night out in his own right. Anthony Smith sees a lot of parallels between his own approach and the fighting style of Sean Strickland. Strickland's ability to press forward, apply volume striking, and make things into a dogfight. As for his battle with Jack Hermansson, Smith seems to think that Strickland has enough in the locker to take home a victory, even if he should be worried about a very strong ground game that Hermansson will bring to the table.
Yeah, you know, I think Strickland wins that fight, or can. You know, I think he's probably favored too. I would say I don't want to speak in absolutes here. I think if Hermansson can, you know, if he can make it a grappling fight and get him into some grappling exchanges and slow him down a little bit. Sean Strickland's a tough bird, man. He's a tough dude to deal with. He never backs up. He's willing to eat punches, to give punches.
Number 7. Uriah Hall. This is going to be a common trend on this list, but Strickland's former opponent Uriah Hall had some pretty enlightening things to say about his rival upon being asked about him in the lead up to their showdown. Anyone that knows anything about Strickland will tell you that his reputation as a hard sparrer precedes him. Strickland is so fond of getting hurt in training that he makes a point of sparring with the hulking heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou as much as he can, just so he can experience that feeling of danger. And according to Uriah Hall, who used to be a gym mate of Strickland's, it only took a few sessions with his future opponent to realize that they weren't compatible. Not that Hall holds any grudges over what happened, but as soon as he had pegged Sean as a rough training partner, he did his best to avoid dipping his toe in those waters from there on. Jump forward a few years, and when the time came for a fight for real, Strickland was, of course, the one to take home the dominant victory, setting him up for a run at the belt. As for Hall, the loss put an end to what was a quietly impressive run of form, and he will hope to rebound against the deadly submission threat Andre Muniz at UFC Fight Night 206.
We used to train back in the day, whether it was at Kings or Extreme Couture, but it was always a fight. You know, with Sean, it was always a fight. Like, bro, we're here to spar. Yeah, I just remember those wild times, and I'm like, I can't train with this dude. But every time he would see me, he's like, hey man, let's get some sparring. And I'm like, yeah, it's not happening, bro. You know, he took his route, I took mine, and I guess, you know, a couple of days we get to see where we're at.
Number 6. Mike Perry. As something of a wildman in his own right, there was actually something quite cool about seeing Mike Perry getting his real experience of Sean Strickland in real time, as he more or less live tweeted his reaction to Strickland's victory over Uriah Hall last time out. Perry, who generally finds a reason to have a dig at his fellow fighters, clearly saw something in Strickland's extremely game approach that he liked, and he made sure to let all of his fans know exactly that. Though he's now fighting as a bare-knuckle boxer outside the UFC, You can just imagine how much a fun fight between Strickland and Perry at a catchweight somewhere between welterweight and middleweight would have been. Well, I guess we can always dream. Remember, if you're enjoying our content and want to see more, be sure to leave a like before subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Number 5. Luke Rockhold. If there's one fighter on this list who can really stake his claim at being Sean Strickland's most despised personal rival, Luke Rockhold is probably going to win at that vote, though fate hasn't brought them together in the cage just yet. Due to their differing career trajectories, Strickland and Rockhold have been exchanging verbal barbs in the media for what seems like far too long at this point. Rockhold, whenever he's asked about his fellow middleweight, makes it very clear that he's not a fan of Sean's personality, calling him a bad ambassador for the sport, among other things. Strickland, on the other hand, is far less courteous in the words he reserves for Luke, and though a matchup between these two guys is quite unlikely at this stage.
I really don't like him. I don't like him. I don't like the way he treats people in the gym, and he's just a guy that goes out there and says he wants to kill somebody in the ring. He'd be happy if he killed somebody. We're all professionals here, and that to have that thought process is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Number 4. Sean O'Malley. And though he only admits that he thinks Sean Strickland is a bit of a psychopath, which is a pretty fair take, all things considered, he also states that he is slowly coming around to the middleweight's very unusual but effective style of trash talking. If you have any form of appreciation for quick comedic timing and just general transparency on the mic, it's hard not to find Strickland's lack of filter charming, or at least to some degree. O'Malley has always been a fighter who has had a strong control over his brand and has tailored his trash talking to suit that need. And though Strickland, in contrast, doesn't seem to care about anyone's opinion of him, it does appear as though he may well be ending up with the same result as Sugar Sean. Both guys are certainly rising stars to keep your eye on as we move further on into 2022.
I'm slowly enjoying Sean Strickland's fucking weird humor. Well, not humor, just him.
It is him.
He's like a psychopath.
He is a psychopath. I think he would be in jail if he didn't find the UFC.
He might go to jail anyway.
Yeah,
he said he wanted to murder someone in the cage. That's what he hopes to do.
Number 3. Michael Bisping. One major incident that helped in putting Strickland's name on the map came when he was captured on camera delivering a back fist and front kick to the body of a sparring partner who twice tried to awkwardly yank his arm in the middle of a BJJ practice. The gym mate in question was a much bigger man than Strickland and was supposed to be helping the middleweight in his preparations for his, at the time, upcoming clash with Uriah Hall. The problem was that this unnecessary use of force was a major injury risk to Strickland in a time where he had a lot riding on his upcoming fight. So when the sparring partner yanked on his arm for a second time, the clearly angry Strickland lashed out on him, delivering a quick back fist and front kick to the body. And according to the former UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping, who actually knows Strickland, despite his own reputation as a hard sparrer, the count seemed to agree that his training partner was out of line and deserved whatever spontaneous reaction he got in return. Though these things certainly happen in gyms, according to Bisping, Strickland's ability to stand his ground and lay down a precedent was admirable in his eyes.
It could injure him, and especially with him having a fight coming up. Obviously, he's got his first main event, I think, against Uriah Hall. Doesn't want to get injured. And I understand Sean's point, because you want to train with good people, and you want to train with people that aren't going to injure you, and that could have done. It could have really injured him. Fair play to Sean the way he acted. You know what I mean? That was ballsy. Makes you respect him. It's as simple as that. He's not going to do that again.
Number 2. Jack Hermansson. A truly excellent grappler who will be hoping that his excellent skills on the mat will be enough to bring his opponent's run of form to a resounding halt. Hermansson and Strickland seem to have at least some level of mutual respect for one another, with Hermansson calling Strickland a tough opponent who appears to be one of the more well-rounded fighters in the middleweight division. Of course, this likely won't make a difference when the octagon doors close, but with the 185-pound division wide open at the moment for a new contender to break through, the title being contested between the champion Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker next month, there's every chance that the fight between Strickland and Hermansson could decide a new contender to the throne.
Yeah, he's good. He's good in all areas of the game, and he is very durable. He has a high pace when he fights, like I do. And he's a tough matchup for anybody. No big holes or weaknesses, and really good scrambles, and always brings a fight. So I think it's a tough matchup for anybody.
Number 1, Sean Strickland. And finally, what better way to end than with a word from the man himself, the top 10 middleweight contender who has truly bursted on the scene in the last year or so. However, while we're used to seeing Sean Strickland being funny and antagonistic, one memorable interview with MMA Fighting's Ariel Helwani allowed the budding star to showcase another side to him, speaking candidly to the veteran reporter in one of the most transparent interviews you will ever likely see from an MMA fighter. Strickland explained the rocky road he has traveled to get where he is today, a road that included falling with the neo-Nazis in his youth due to a lack of direction. But most interestingly of all was Sean's honesty about homicidal thoughts that have dogged his existence from a young age. Expressing dissatisfaction with a lack of proper structure and help for troubled kids like he was, Strickland made it clear that one of his first goals when his fighting career is over will be to directly confront all the demons that are in his past. If you want to experience a truly unique fighter interview, we would urge you to check this one out because Sean Strickland goes places that most athletes wouldn't dare.
Like here I am, second grade, first grade, doing something like almost like an attempted murder that as an adult you would go to prison for. And no one said, hey man, like what, this kid is like he pretty much trying to kill another human being. Maybe we should help him. After I'm done with MMA, I probably will work on rewiring my brain.
Okay.
And maybe find more like value in human life. I don't know. Maybe like try to connect more with people. But like right now, I like it. I enjoy it.
And that will just about do it for this video. Again, if you enjoyed today's video and want to see more, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thanks for watching.